Test. Okay. Hi, guys. Fuck yeah. I'm the Fuse energy guy.
Refuse.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to do and what I will try to do tonight is kind of walk you through the story of the energy network as informally as possible, but it does get sometimes a bit technical, a bit complex. I just, whatever. But yeah, so it's a project that I quite like, I am quite passionate about, and I think I'm gonna try my best to kind of vehiculate this to you. It is a great project, and I think it adds real value to the world. Yeah, I think we can start. Are we ready? Yeah? Good. Okay, so starting with the premise, something called distributed energy resources. We have a bunch of them. They're basically EV chargers, solar panels, batteries, thermostats, smart thermostats mainly. And we have seen an uptake increasing throughout the years of these distributed energy resources. So as you can see from the graph, starting in 2016, ending in 2024, we're now at 17 million across the world, and these are basically really useful assets that hold a lot of value that has been completely untapped for a while. And it is their value that we are trying to tap into at Fuse and with the energy network and this project. Exactly. Now on a separate point, all of these distributed energy resources add energy capacity to the grid. So all of these can produce electricity that households can use. And we've seen that there is a direct correlation between high energy consumption and progress. This is on an individual level or on a country level. So basically, no, go back. Yeah. The more electricity you use, the more you develop yourself and the more you see progress. And this is something that we see in China now, for example. China is basically one of the countries or the country that uses the most electricity, that uses the most gas, energy in general. And it's seeing and experiencing its fastest development in the world. We have been told as consumers and as people to restrict our energy consumption for a very long time for environmental reasons, to save on energy bills and all of these things. One of the things that Fuse fights for is debunking this, telling you that this is not correct. You can have high electricity usage, high energy usage, and still we can find a way to coordinate the energy system to make your consumption responsible. You don't have to restrict yourself, because restricting yourself from an energy consumption is also restricting yourself from a growth perspective on an individual level, on a company level, and on a country level. Yeah, I guess we can move on. Now this is basically a very heavy slide, doesn't look like it, but there is a lot of content in there. So an inflexible grid where congestion is common and demand and supply are out of sync leads to volatile prices. Now, why are prices volatile? And to really understand this, we need to go back to the story of the grid and what it really does. Grids, funnily enough, it's a great fact, I don't know if anyone is aware, are the biggest machines ever built. There is not a single machine that is bigger than the grid. It's huge. And they have been built a while ago, a century ago. They are used and optimized to function best when you have a few centralized coal power plants that supply all the energy to very also centralized hubs of power consumption. Nowadays, with all of these distributed energy resources that we've seen the number increase of, this is not true anymore. So we have grids that are basically not optimized for today's consumption patterns and for today's supply patterns that are basically holding progress back. No, can you go back to the slide? Yeah. So what does this mean in terms of prices? How does it really affect everything? So because usually electricity needs to be generated and power needs to be generated at the same time on the supply side as when it's being consumed, And the reason behind that, there are multiple reasons behind that, but the main reason behind that is that utility scale or like grid scale power storage and energy storage facilities are not cost effective. So building massive batteries that can hold power and energy for when it's generated, let's say by wind or solar, and then dispatching that when demand peaks is not really cost effective. So we don't really do that much. There is some of that, but it's not enough. And usually now that we have seen a rise in renewables, so we have now 30 to 40% of the UK installed capacity is in renewables, whether it's solar or wind. With the issue with that is that they're intermittent. So we produce, so there is wind and solar, and we can get electricity out of these, not at the same time as when they are actually high in demand. Wind at night, let's say, or early in the morning, but the demand peaks at 6, 7 p.m., then what do? And the answer to that is that you fire coal plants and gas plants, mainly gas plants in the UK. So when the demand, when the supply from these renewable plants is really high, but the demand is very low, we need to curtail that. We need to cut these plants that could be firing a lot of clean electricity to the grid, and we kind of waste, and there is a total of $73 billion in wasted renewable energy in the past 4 or 5 years in the world. And what we do when demand peaks and there is not enough sun or wind is that we fire these gas plants, which are obviously emit a lot of CO2 and are not great from a cost point of view. This results in having all of this intermittence and this price volatility when there is too much demand and not enough production, let's say, or supply. Now we can move on. Slide before that. Yep. Grid balancing requires coordination. Now, this is a big problem that solving is not a very easy thing to do because the grid is a complex thing, and the markets around the grid and how when we operate it is also very complex. So there are plants that generate electricity, and they offer to sell it to electricity system operators and markets. And then us, electricity suppliers, well, we kind of operate across this whole chain because we are a full stack energy company. Electricity supplier bid to buy that electricity, and then they basically give it to their end users that are switched in with them, and they get that price back used by billing their customers. Now, from a much more physical point of view, there are 4 layers to the energy industry from a physical standpoint. You have generators, so coal, gas, wind, solar farm operators, all of these guys, and then you have transportation, so the people who transport this electricity in high voltage power lines from where it is produced to big city hubs. And then you have the distribution side of this, which is after it passes through a transformer, and it is converted into mid to low voltage electricity, and it's distributed inside of the cities. And then you have retail or suppliers, which is us, people who take care of like everything that happens after the meter inside of households and bill for that electricity consumption. Next. Great. So another big problem that we see that was discussed before is grid congestion. We all consume electricity around 6, 7, 8 p.m. because we've gone back from work, and this is when we use it. Now, this is not when electricity is usually available or energy is available from the wind or the sun. It doesn't really correlate. So we have this problem, and there is immense value in solving this problem. So basically spreading these peaks across the whole day by using distributed energy resources. How does it work? The way it works is that you can coordinate all of these resources because they're smart, like EV chargers, and you can fire them by us on the app. You can use them in times of off-peak. So instead of coming home and, let's say, charging your car at 6 p.m. at the highest price when the electricity is the most expensive, you connect to the energy network, And that allows you, basically, we know you set your constraints. You want tomorrow morning to wake up like with a fully charged car. That's your constraint, that's fine. We make sure that happens, but we make sure to charge your EV at the time when that is most basically convenient for the grid, and it is best from a price standpoint. And all of the energy that you would have shifted out of peak periods, basically depending on the value that you give to the grid and the economic value that you create, you get in the form of rewards, which are energy dollars. Let's move on. Yeah, energy dollars are basically, so the energy network is built on Solana. Energy dollar is basically the incentive layer of the network. And it is built on chain. It is transparent and immutable, obviously, and we have these decentralized data sources. So being on-chain enables the energy network to be a crypto-incentivized layer for DERs like batteries, EV chargers, and solar. Here, we are not necessarily reinventing the wheel. What we are doing is creating a smart and interesting incentive for people to actually tune into a network that wants to make the grid better, or that wants to basically take an archaic architecture of the grid and try to propulse it inside of the new era or the modern world without having to build 18 million kilometers of new power lines or building more and more coal plants to kind of meet a demand because of a grid that is too congested. Next. Math. We can go through quickly basically the daily scores and the energy dollar rewards. So the way it works is that every single day, depending on how you shift, which you can do automatically or manually. So if you don't have EV charger or if you don't have any of these devices, you can turn on and off your lights, you can wash your clothes at a different time or whatever. And all of these things you can do completely manually, and it's fine. You would still earn rewards for this. So we take how much you've used off-peak, how much you've used during these orange periods, which is like the base period, and how much you've used during the peak times. And we put that together and we factor that with a multiplier. We put that together and then we get your daily score. The score is calculated every day. And then depending on that daily score, we can calculate the total amount of energy dollars that are earned by multiplying it by a reward rate, which is determined by the current value of the energy dollar on exchanges. So the live value of it. Another complex slide. So energy dollar reward mechanism incentivizes participation. So basically what we're trying to do is to create enough value in the energy dollar for people to participate early on. Because the token is distributed on a disinflationary schedule, so people joining early will be much more incentivized to get much more tokens, basically. At the time, basically we want to solve the cold start issue. Nobody cares about what we're doing, and nobody cares about energy resources. So you incentivize people to join early on, and then basically you get a cold uptake, you get a big uptake of these resources, and you solve the issue when it's actually at its most alarming state, which is right now. So yeah, can you go back? Yeah. So homes and devices register on the energy network, and then they unlock revenue in energy and flexibility markets, in energy and flexibility markets. Users compensated with energy dollar on this disinflationary schedule, and then users burn these energy dollars for discounts. When they are burnt, they are permanently removed from supply, and you can burn them basically. All the users who have accumulated a bunch of energy dollars can burn them and use them on, let's say, discounts and gift cards, on EV chargers and energy devices of all sorts, including solar installations, smart thermostats, batteries, whatever. We can move on. Don't need to tell you why we chose Solana. Real-time coordination, energy efficient, low cost, high throughput. Next. Yeah. The Solana blockchain has many perks at every single level. So basically at the individual level, you redeem energy dollars for creating value to the grid and improving the grid. And then, yeah, you can burn them basically you can burn them for rewards. And then at the market level, you reduce grid stress and lower energy costs. And at the global level, you can basically have essentially while we expand to new markets, which we have not done yet, but we plan on doing at the end of this year, you can basically coordinate worldwide a bunch of energy resources that fire and turn on and off, basically at a schedule that is completely optimized for the grid in general. Next. I don't see anything. Well, we've already discussed this. You get next. And that's it. Thank you very much. Cap, I believe you had questions for me. Or if anyone has questions, I don't know what the schedule looks like. Oh yeah, there's an announcement I have to make. I have a surprise for everyone here, by the way. I'm so sorry I forgot. Is it the next slide?
Yes, well, it's one.
Nope, not this one. Maybe this one.
Yeah.
That's the one. So yeah, basically you just please switch to Fuse. You'll get £100. Yeah, that's really it. And it's true for everyone here. You all get it. Until when? Until tomorrow evening. So be quick. Really, like. Yeah, by the way, if you experience any kind of problem, you can just email support@fuseenergy.com. You have a bunch of very competent young people who will answer you.
Jetzt warst du next.
No, please don't, by the way. I think I think we have guardrails in place to not to make sure that this isn't a problem. Do we?
Sorry?
Do we limit the number of people who can sign up? Yes, we do. We don't.
Okay, all right, I'll take this.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Can we get a big round of applause, Lorenzo? Amazing. So I want to dive into a little bit of an informal conversation, and then everyone remember this is your chance afterwards to ask your questions, and we'll dive into that in a second. I just want to go through the story. What was the origin story of Fuse? And then we can talk a little bit about as it was scaling, what I was like. But yeah, let's start with how did Fuse Energy start? There's a lot of founders in the room, so yeah, tell us that story.
Great, yeah. I don't know how many people are informed about this story now, but it's Fuse started with basically Alan Cheng and Charles Orr, who are two ex-Revolut. Alan is employee number 3 at Revolut, and Charles joined a bit later. But basically, they were very inspired by whatever they did at Revolut, which makes sense. They completely revolutionized an industry that has been stagnant and kind of was also archaic and has stayed the same for a very long time. And they basically changed it completely. Well, before Revolut and all of these banks, basically, people had. Well, I heard Sean say this, and it was actually really interesting. People it's a great stat. People you had a bigger chance of getting a divorce than you had to change your bank.
Wow.
So people would just stick to their banks and forever. And they came into this industry that's highly regulated and disrupted it completely.
Yeah.
They thought it was there were so many bottlenecks and it was such a mess, and they changed it completely. And it's upon kind of graduating or moving on from this that they thought to themselves what is the other industry that is kind of completely lagging behind and super old and archaic and dysfunctional. And the obvious answer that they landed on was the energy industry, the fucking grid. That was it. So they decided to start Fuse. That was about in 2022, but they actually launched in about 2.5 years ago now. And well, yeah, of course, Alan being a big name, they were able to secure, obviously being extremely competent, both of them, they were able to secure funding, and they have been, as you said, you've done it, a good summary at the beginning, where the ARR has been, the revenue has been multiplied by 10 every single year.
Yeah, this is incredible.
It's way over 400 million now, by the way.
There we go.
Yeah.
Epic.
So yeah, that's basically the origin story of how it started. Yeah, I think that answers your question. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I think it's really cool to be able to see companies from the UK scale up so quickly and go through that journey. And what have you kind of then been learning and seeing as the company's been growing so quickly that you've kind of noticed that you can kind of share with everyone else who's listening of what it's like in a company that's scaling up so fast?
Oh yeah, so I think one lesson I can take from this is that planning is not as important as people think it is. You just do stuff and then do it obsessively and do it a lot and work all the time, and then all of a sudden you start scaling and things change and you have no idea how you got there. But anyway, so the idea is, as you scale very quickly because you're working very hard and you're doing it really well, things are gonna break, unexpected things are gonna happen, and sometimes it seems to me as if it is almost inefficient to have everything planned beforehand. You just need to be cool enough to like fix a breaking moving train. And that kind of that's what we have been doing for a while. There are so many things that break all the time because we're scaling so quickly, and we just need people who have kind of the confidence and who are cold-headed enough to just be there and fix them as they go. These are the people you want to find. Like someone who can stay calm in an atmosphere like this.
100%. Because if you're on a train that's moving super fast and then you stop for a second and start planning what to do, the train's still moving, the things are still broken. So by doing the things that then just fix them, allow it to then just continue moving, and you're getting that momentum consistently growing out of it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, what else have you kind of noticed just within the team or even within the customers as you've been growing? Other lessons to be able to take away is the first one of just do things and just do them quickly. As you're scaling, just don't worry about it, just go for it, move forward. What else have you kind of been noticing?
That's actually a good question. You go... Yeah, exactly. We need a new office. That's exactly, and we're moving into one soon. That's a great one. I think my second answer is much more vibesy. It's I joined when we had about 20,000 customers. We now have much more than 250,000. And obviously we were a small team, and now the team has almost maybe 7-8x since. And it's just generally, it's been a bit more than a year, but it feels like the office has gone through so many changes, and in the general atmosphere of what it was before, a small community with a few people, everyone there is kind of your friend and you're familiar with everyone. And now all of a sudden, a 2-3 months in, you double the effective, and then all of a sudden there is such a gap and a distance that is created between different people. You start feeling that the atmosphere is much more, maybe a bit more corporate. There are the structures being in place. Obviously, as the train moves, you need to create systems and structures that kind of and everything. So, and all of these structures are necessary. Nobody really likes them, but they have to be there. You want to keep the spirit of the startup going as long as possible. But yeah, I would say that's the second thing that has completely changed. Yes, so you could. It's the startup vibe. It just kind of disappears slowly.
Yeah, well, as you're saying, if you're scaling, the team's growing so much, that's the natural thing to start to happen. You're losing that bit of magic, but keeping this philosophy of just do things and make sure everyone's empowered to be able to do things, execute fast, hopefully can then be able to enable that to continue growing for as much longer. And if we then start to extrapolate out a little bit further, where do you kind of see Fuse in the next few years, in the next decade? What's the big vision? What you're seeing things to be able to get towards?
I think it's simple. I think I've worked there enough now to know that everyone who's actually in control of things. And by the way, this is something that's very good, is that everything, the moment you prove to be you prove yourself to be, well, worthy of responsibilities and ownership, you get that ownership. Like everybody, technically at some point, everybody's an owner. You own whatever initiative you have and you are held responsible for its failure or anything. So that's a great thing for anyone young who wants to work and to really work really hard and own things and be responsible for things. It's a great environment. There's no safety net between you and failure. We're not blaming your boss or anyone. When you own something and that can be a few months in, you are held responsible for it, which is very good. Where do I see the company in a few years? Again, knowing like this kind of mentality and the caliber of the people who work there, I think there is a very, very high likelihood that the company will go global and very soon become the biggest energy giant in the world. I don't have any doubts. Like I don't think I could sustain this rhythm and stay there and work there for that long, which is almost a year, but it feels like a lifetime. And work all of these hours every week if I didn't believe that wholeheartedly. There's nothing like it. I've never seen anything like it. I think the people there are just amazing, and they will achieve a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Like when you're in that fast-moving train, it is super exciting, and cool thing for a few of our members here in the audience as well. There'll be a future time where we can go into the Fuse office, meet some of the other team members as well, and get to co-work there for a bit to get to experience a bit of what it's like moving in that fast-moving train. And then so for everybody here, like what's the way that they can get involved? Like what's next? We talked about being able to like switch, install Fuse Energy, be able to use that with the big launch coming. Like what do you want people to be able to do and take away from this?
Well, obviously switching is great, like it's very good, and then enabling rewards to like tap into the energy network and become a node in that network, your household, your apartment, or anything. There are a bunch of we're really excited to announce a bunch of new products that we're launching this year. It's not only going to be the energy network, or so we basically have this solar battery kind of plug and play system that's apartment friendly and renter friendly that we want to launch and start selling, which will enable you to optimize your the rewards that you earn basically and your energy consumption. So getting all of these devices that, by the way, you will eventually be able to get with the rewards that you get. Don't have to pay much on these things. So I would say this is very good. And then talking about us on socials, Fuse the best. That's also very good. It helps. So I think, and anyway, like we are one of the cheapest or like the most low cost energy suppliers in the UK because we have been able to kind of like be completely vertically integrated. We generate our own electricity, like we have solar and wind farms across the UK. We are also like very close to homes. We basically supply electricity everywhere, and we have been able to do all of these things because we do everything in-house, and in an industry that's extremely siloed, we have been able to kind of bring in all the talent and all the big brains and the engineers to build this for us, which has allowed us in general to like build, for example, solar and wind farms with like 30% less capex per megawatt hour peak, for example. Which basically allows us to sell that electricity back at a lower cost. So I think there's a lot to win for everyone to switch in with us, and obviously like Fuse is the best on socials also helps a lot.
All right, there we go. Switch to Fuse.
Yeah.
And so who wants to ask a question? Who wants to go first? Okay.
Let's see if I can answer them.
And we got that, and we've got Joe in the back as well. Yeah, no, let's stop.
Blockchain. So, do you additional overly transactions?
Cool.
I don't think I'm
Yeah,
able
that's
to.
muffling out. Do you want to just shout?
Yeah, so it's sort of blockchain. So do you earn your just getting up energy transition?
Do we earn?
Jack, do you want to bring it back as well?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good, go for it.
Shall I say again?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Right, okay, so you're using the blockchain. So is it the transaction fees that you're earning your return on investment?
Well, not really.
If I'm off grid and I'll come over to you, how am I going to get that G base, energy? Is it going to be for tokenized discount?
Oh, great. So basically, are you asking how we are able to make profit of this entire energy network thing?
From the token.
From the tokens perspective, from the tokens perspective, not really, but like yes, obviously, like the low fees and everything, this helps a lot, but like the main value that we are capturing is from the energy markets. So because we are incentivizing people to use electricity during hours where, so just to start from basics, electricity is traded half hourly. So you buy a certain amount of electricity for a half hour. And then when you incentivize people to move their consumption outside of the very expensive half hours, you can hedge for that and basically buy electricity cheaper. And that's the electricity that you're sending back to them. So exactly. So by having all of these people connect their devices and by having all of these people shift their consumption outside of those peak hours, you are capturing a lot of value in energy markets. And that value is being distributed back to the customers through the token. Yeah. So I hope that answers this question. It does. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah. Oh.
People teaching me, and it's really interesting to see about the energy market. One of the biggest causes of using renewables, and you can also not answer this question, is essentially that transistor problem. How do you take all this energy which you've generated and then put onto the grid? What is your proposed solution to that problem? Or is it that case that what you do is you take that solar energy and you sell it to whoever needs that immediate energy right there and then, and then essentially buy back that energy for
Oh yeah. The second option is much closer.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. The second option is it working?
Yeah, just sometimes it needs to be a bit closer.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. So basically, the second option that you propose is exactly it. It's
Let's shout.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm loud enough too. So the second option is much closer to what it actually is. So as you said, and you've mentioned it correctly, like the biggest issue with the biggest problem that we have with the grid and energy in general is not that it is too expensive to produce. As a matter of fact, it's not. Renewables have gotten, and building renewable plants and generating renewable energy has been gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Now, what the prices of basically taking that electricity that you produce at the point A and taking it to point B, which is usually very far, that cost has gone up because of the nature of the grid that is not adapted at all, and it's archaic and super old, and it's not adapted to having all of these small centers of consumption and production across the country. It is optimized for centralized plants. So what this means is a higher and higher share of your electricity bill and the costs that you pay are grid congestion costs. So it's cost of maintaining the grid and making sure that basically everyone so energy is being used when it's being produced and everything. What the energy network does, there is absolutely no change. So you have two options when you're faced with a problem like this. Option number one is just rebuild the grid, which is not only extremely expensive, but also would take years. And so anyway, that's almost like a no option. Option number two is so you either solve it from the supply side or you solve it from the demand side. The grid is just good enough so we can basically, with today's demand, if spread across an entire day, function perfectly well. You need to create an incentive that makes people use that electricity across the day and not all at once. the grid is not good enough for all at once. It's relatively good enough for spreading out across the day. And this is how we are fixing that problem of like, so yeah, that's basically our solution to it and the nature of the project itself. Yeah.
This question over there.
I can do without mic.
So for you to scale, one of the biggest challenges I see that you are onboarding not crypto natives, but just regular mass audience, or not crypto natives to use as spender tokens, right? So how do you overcome that boarding process for these people? Because it's pretty tough sometimes when the wallet you use, you build your own wallet, you do that existing solutions.
Well, for the wallet, we tapped into an existing solution, but so the first part of your question was how do you onboard? So we have a customer base that is not crypto native.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's subsidy for that.
Yes.
Ticket sense tokens.
Yes.
Tokens.
That's actually a great question, and it's one that we're struggling with. It's a fantastic question, and it's a nightmare from a marketing point of view, right? So, energy fundamentally is a very safe industry. People want to have electricity and gas when they need electricity and gas, you know, and they don't want to think about it twice. They want to pay their £50, £100 a month, and then they really just want this to be there. Now, giving like all of these people who have switched to us in the first place, well, sometimes because we are the coolest energy supplier in the UK, but also sometimes because
That worked.
yeah. Also sometimes because we are the cheapest. Giving them the whole tokens crypto talk is almost impossible. So basically the way you do it is you basically sell the project differently. So you talk to your different audiences in different way. You tell them different things. You talk about listing on exchanges to a crypto audience, and then you talk to rewards for discounts to a non-crypto audience. It's basically adapting your speech. That's virtually how you do it. Have we been extremely successful in doing it? The simple answer is no. It's really tough. I'm trying to figure it out. I really don't know how to. Like, that's my solution basically. Yeah.
The other thing I would add on to that is that in terms of like from a non-crypto user being able to use Fuse Energy, they don't even know crypto is a part of it. You'll download it. In terms of how wallets and account abstraction will work, is that like from the app perspective, there would be a wallet abstraction level. So that no user at any point is downloading a seed phrase, using that to be able to hold any of the tokens that they're accruing from being able to use the application itself and being able to use energy at different points in time. So they're able to create it easier for a journey. So a lot of people have used Fuse and didn't even know it was a crypto company or had any vision of using Solana on the back end.
Oh, he's right.
Easier rewards in the app. You don't need to take them out.
Exactly. She's right.
All right, here's another question.
I want to ask about the revenue splits because I think a lot of people don't know that energy firms actually make money from trading. Some of them like most of the profits from there. And because the energy is so volatile from the electricity wise, so if you're fixing the demand side, there will be no volatility, right? So that means that your profit will be made from actually supplying like all of these energy trading firms with like expected prices for these assets because you cannot store electricity. That's like the hardest part. That's why I need to like expect what will be the load tomorrow, right? So you have to be like estimating the load. So what's the revenue split wise? Is it like most of it actually will come from the trading side for you, or is it actually coming from supplying to the consumers? Because for honestly right now, like you're selling demand side, and we can like supply these numbers so the other trading firms like Octopus Energy and all this.
That's a crazy question. Great, good job. Well, the answer to it is supply. Most of the revenue has always been supply and will always be supply. What will happen after regarding on the trading side of things is, yeah, to me a question mark actually. I don't think to everyone else, but to me a question mark. But revenue is supply. Supply is basically the motor of us having any form of income. So yeah, the answer is supply.
And just for anyone who doesn't understand it, what do you mean by supply of energy?
What we mean by supply of energy is us supplying homes and people paying us bills. That's really as simple of a business model as it gets. Yeah.
But if you know the supply that will be tomorrow, you can actually sell the energy, like the electricity or the load, like to other firms. And because you know the estimate better, you'll make profit because like all of the other guys don't know the estimate for tomorrow, right? For example, if there's like a big event tomorrow and they know that the kettle's actually turning on at 7 p.m., for example, right? And there's a spike at 7 p.m. But if there is like something like of a big event coming like tomorrow, everyone thinks that there will be like something going up, and you know is that, for example, your user base will not do that because you'll provide more rewards during the spike. Like you can actually earn a lot of savings.
Absolutely correct. But I would say that right now, in the future, that is absolutely correct. We can basically use that for trading. That would be very practical for us. So there is a lot of money to be made on this end of things. But I would say that right now we don't have. Well, I would say the projected uptake of EV chargers that are under our belt right now, or like all of these distributed resources that we have that we can take control of, is not large enough to make an impact like this, or to make any kind of significant impact yet. Yeah, that's basically the answer. It would be super interesting in the future when we do have that power, but yeah, the scale is not big enough right now for us to consider this seriously.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vijay?
Yeah. So right now, most of the energy comes from a centralized systems, pumps into the hosts, into the places. But I see a future where the balance will take off, where the homes will actually generate their energies. And so is your product already made for reverse tokenization, reverse sharing of revenues, and also if homes can actually somehow generate energies and contribute back into the network?
That is already taken into consideration, yes. It already is taken into consideration, and it is basically what we are trying to achieve with the project too. We are trying to make homes like the virtual power plants, basically. We're trying to incentivize you to basically for your EV charger, let's say, to charge your car and then take that charge from your car and put it back into the grid when needed. You know? So that's very much into the plans. Yes, it's called vehicle to grid. It's it's kind of a magical concept. It's very good. Yeah.
I know Chewy's been waiting for a while.
I wanted to ask a question on, you've got the electricity on gas. Have you kind of like, do you still, in terms of the gas as well that we use in the UK, is that something that you guys have, or is it just electricity? And my second question is just on EV and grants. Is that something that you work with the government to try and get grants for houses to install EV, but also not only just houses, but also commercial incentives, and just on that as well?
Okay. Two good questions. So question number one was gas. So regarding gas, we do supply, by the way. So in mid 2025 we launched our gas supply too. So now all homes can switch both their electricity and gas to Fuse. So that answers your supply question. Now, is there such an incentive as this one for gas? No, there really isn't, for a myriad of different reasons. But like, we are focused on electricity. At the end of the day, the reason for Fuse to enter the gas space is because we do believe that it is much easier for someone to fix an industry, or like to kind of let's say rule out gas from the inside than it is to do it from the outside. You can't just be an outsider like that and just screaming at people. You're basically just an activist, not really doing much. So we don't we don't really think that it's useful for you to scream at the gas industry and be like, please stop it once you're outside and not really partaking. Going inside and incentivizing people to use more electricity than they're using gas is because at the end of the day, there is the overarching goal is a major electrification of the UK and the world. But yes, so this I guess answers question number one. Regarding the question number two for EV grants and commercial, we do have a couple of things going for EV. I don't think we offer directly grants with the government. I might be corrected on this one, so I'm going to hold back from giving a definitive answer. But do we work with commercial on EVs yet? Not yet properly, but very soon. Not yet properly, but very soon. Yeah.
There's just a second question to that. EV, so my background is as an architect, so like I've had quite a few clients asking about EV installations and stuff, but they're costing around 20 grand, for domestic and stuff. So
What?
well, that's with the battery and everything. We're talking about maybe a rival company with Octopus, let's say.
Probably, yeah.
Switch to Fuse.
I'm not saying it's Octopus, I'm just saying it's possibly.
Yeah, the Octopus guys, yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the ROI is on EV installation and over
Yeah.
the years.
ROI is quite good. We're very happy with our EV business in general, and it's not 20 grand. By the way, you look like an architect. Yeah. Yeah, it's a compliment, by the way. That's like, but anyway, yeah, ROI is quite good on EV chargers, much better than supply for an individual customer, by the way. So I believe one EV charger installed brings the equivalent of profit of like 10 customers in 1 year or something like that, or like much more than this. But like anyway, and the prices for our EVs, like it's the whole package is like $899, no? Yeah, $899. I do believe we are one of the cheapest on the market too for EV chargers. It's not the car. This is a charger with the wire and the whole kit thing, and we come and install it and everything. Everything is taken care for. It's really nice. It's EV. It's easy. The band is easy. The brand is easy. It's nice and black and matte. You can choose the color. It's great. You can get it in app too. So now you're down. What's it?
Architects love color choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get this. Any other questions?
Can I just ask one more? So
There is just before. Yeah.
Yes. So the first one is in the ideally question making. You mentioned that it's quite hard to solve the idea to keep up for outside is pretty important. Did you consider gamifying it as much as possible just to make it hard so people?
I wouldn't say enough. No, we haven't thought of this enough. Maybe you can shoot ideas at me.
And the second one again is an idea question. Yes, it's fair that to review the whole big system is just too ambitious and maybe it's not worth it. You also mentioned that the main purpose is to incentivize customers. However, as far as I know, there is another problem which you didn't mention, which is batteries and the way the energy is stored. So maybe you can do both. You can incentivize customers, but you also need to extend that sometimes you can't do this. So the way it's structured and the way it stores, it might be as important as the grid itself.
So the way electricity is stored at the grid level is as important, or from a customer point of view, so customers having batteries?
Well, the batteries, so we know that the way they're structured, the limit system is quite weak and inefficient. So maybe you can't repeat all the grid system, but you can circle some centers which are stored.
That is exactly what we're doing, right? So what we are trying to get people to do is get EV chargers and batteries that they can install in their homes, and then so an EV charger is basically a glorified battery. It's a battery on wheels, right? It's just like an EV is a battery on wheels. So it's basically the same concept. And they use these batteries to pump out electricity from the grid during times of let's say low prices or off-peak times, and then pump that back in during peak times. So you have a battery, you uptake electricity during when it's very cheap, when nobody really wants it, and then you use it for like whatever you want to do in your house, and then whenever the prices of electricity peak or like during peak periods, you kind of give that back out to the grid to help alleviate all of these congestions and like all of these, so basically to help the grid out. And that is basically solving the battery problem from in a very diverse point of view, instead of having like these big centralized batteries that are anyway very expensive and very inefficient. Well, inefficient is kind of, well, they kind of are. But anyway, so like it's solving this from a household point of view, from on the demand side, instead of solving it in a centralized way, which we can all agree is kind of outdated. So yeah, that is really what we're trying to do, yes. And I would like to hear the gamify ideas later, by the way. That it might help. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Biju Mena. I'm an entrepreneur involved with an energy company where it's a new energy company, but where we produce electricity paint, the paint that is applied to houses.
Oh, okay.
So my question is, how much of your renewable energy sources? Can you give me a fair flavor of distribution of types of it? How much percentage is from wind, of solar, and so on? The more curious aspects, in one of Zorian perspective is, when you start a Fuse Energy, the founder started, how did it come about in terms of acquiring or creating the new energy sources? And how much time was spent on getting the source in play, the software in play, before you started supplying energy to the market?
That's a great question too. So to answer question number one, you were asking about the share, so our energy mix basically. Well, right now, because we have around 3 solar farms and 1 small wind farm in Scotland, so basically from our supply perspective, our energy mix is not huge in renewables, but what we are doing right now is building maybe 10 to 100 times that capacity in terms of renewables. It's being built right now. So it definitely isn't big enough right now, but what we also don't do is buy and sell a bunch of Regos. I think you know what Regos are. Yeah, so anyway, so yeah, the energy mix, so there's not as many renewables as we would have wanted there to be, and there will be very soon though. Second question was
17% renewable. And
17.
yeah, it's solar and wind.
That's maybe yes.
Well, I mean, this is much more an entrepreneurial system in terms of how does
Software.
Fuse Energy.
Yeah.
So they would have to have the source first and get compliance from the regulators to supply energy, because you need a minimum number of resources for supply, and you need a software for you to serve the customers, right? How did that all come about? So there's chicken acquisition, right? How did that happen? Obviously, there's a point of time where you have to raise capital to buy these farms and to get this software in play and to roll it out. And I'm just curious to know how that works.
Well, yes, I would say the beautiful and ugly thing about the energy industry in general is that it's very siloed, as I said. So you have like a bunch of different people working across a bunch of different verticals. So what you can do is you can start an energy company and be a supplier without generating any energy. So you can just supply a bunch of electricity that you're just buying on markets, and like without ever having a solar farm or touching a gas plant, which is definitely not what was in the plans for us. But in terms of prioritization, I would say building the software to supply so building first of all the software and a back end, and then for, let's say, we built our own billing engine, we have our own trading models. All of these people usually buy Kraken or whatever and use it. We built it in house. So that was, I would say, well, in its final form, not really, but like, it kind of joins the point that I made with Kappa, like at the beginning of the dog, of like just doing stuff and then things breaking and then fixing them along the way. You have whatever it takes to roll out a product. It's good, it works, you roll it out, and then you realize, and then you fix it as it goes because it's gonna break, obviously. And then it breaks, you fix, it breaks, you fix. And through the iteration of this process, you end up getting somewhere that is reasonably good, where you don't really have to take care of this anymore, it takes care of itself. Virtually like our billing engine now. It doesn't, like, there was a point where we'd have to implement fixes every week. We don't do that anymore. It's good enough, but we rolled it out before it was in the perfect state. We worried, because we had this idea of being a fully vertically integrated company in the first place, we were worrying about this whole back-end customer interface, supplying an energy, at the same time as we were worrying like about building solar farms and acquiring wind farms and like all of these things. But that doesn't really have to be the case. But in our case, we kind of did all of it at the same time. We really spread ourselves very thin. Yeah, so I remember my stories from my boss, who's the head of operations. He basically tells me that when he joined about 4 years ago now, his task for like 6 months was to find a wind farm to buy. And like he just spent all of his time trying to find this wind farm that he ended up buying. You know, and it was his big breakthrough at Fuse. He bought the wind farm, you know, and now he's just
Driving around Scotland.
driving around Scotland to find wind farms, you know, and now he's the head of operations. Does not even touch the projects department or like, it's so yeah. We did both. We did both basically, just to answer your question. Yeah.
Just on recon, so you're acting as a DSO, is that correct? As a DSO, so you're a district service operator. So wouldn't it be better to then target large PPAs with industrial size, solar and agrivoltaic?
We are not a DSO, by the way.
Oh, you're not? Right.
We are not a DSO. We work with them. We're not a DSO yet. Well, anyway, okay. Plan to be everything. That's really the goal, yeah. But like, we're not a DSO. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more profitable to target industrial size as producers though, because that you would just need to do a PPA deal?
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, PPA would be useful. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll take your contact. Okay.
Yeah, just I guess there's a lot of that. I just had one question around because I was wondering, when you look at your company's value, where you see how much of that value you see they derive from
Good one. Really, this is not working anymore. Really, it gave up. Interesting. Okay. How much value? Well, okay. A lot of our investment comes from this project. So this is the project that basically drove a lot of the investment that came into Fuse in the first place. So to say that basically is basically saying that yes, a lot of value comes from crypto in general in the company. Now regarding revenue and what we basically do, there is to this day none. Nothing is actually like, yeah, yet. We need to roll out this project and see what happens. But in from a revenue perspective, as I said, it's supply. And when we'll see what the future holds, I don't know. But like from an investment point of view, a lot of the investment that we had was for this project, which is great. We wouldn't have gotten to the point where we are at now without it. So, yeah. Anyone else?
Okay. Yeah, Solana. He's with Solana.
Fucking great question. Why Solana? Well, there is a slide about this. Why Solana? That I flew through. It's like, yeah, obviously Solana. Yeah, just
because you knew Cap, right?
exactly. So it was networking with Cap that actually. You're recording this, right? So like, it's actually Cap.
There you go.
Clip it.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, guys.
Sweet. Awesome. Big round of applause, everyone. So we've got drinks, there's some pizza here as well. I would also love if we can get a big group photo.
Yeah,
If you all
sick.
want to come up, we can get a big group photo together. So come on round.
We should discuss this.
Why not? Squeeze in a little bit more over here.
Yeah.